What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Scoop. Today, I'm going to be doing my 2023 NFL mock draft. I believe it's 6.0 or 7.0. I know we've been gone for a while. We've just had to deal with like school and college, so forgive us for this hiatus. But now we're back, and I'm going to be going through my first round NFL mock draft. So let's just get straight into it. Starting off with the first pick, you've got the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud here. I think personally Bryce Young is probably an overall I think he's a better quarterback, but I think the issue is obviously when you see with this height, only 5'10", barely over 200 pounds. He's someone that definitely right now at this moment, it's a bit scary to draft someone with that height, especially with Stroud. Obviously, I think if Stroud didn't have that Georgia game, I think I would take Bryce Young. I think a lot of teams would be clear that Bryce Young is the guy, but we saw from CJ Stroud in that game was something that we didn't see all year. His composure under pressure, his mobility, willingness to get out of the pocket. He really kind of debunked almost all of his flaws in that one game. And I think it kind of really showed what his ceiling is, a kind of Joe Burrow level quarterback, which would be amazing for the Panthers. You see what guys like Josh McCown, the reverence they have for CJ Stroud. So I think he will be the pick there. And speaking of Bryce Young, I think he's going to go second overall to the Houston Texans. And yeah, I think Bryce Young is someone again, like I said, he does come with flaws, but the positives are so much. He's literally probably besides height, I don't think he has a single weakness. He's just such a he's got good arm strength, not great, but he's got a good arm strength. Really great improviser, good at getting outside the pocket, good pocket mobility inside as well. Great intelligence. He has a great feel, great anticipation. He's really kind of besides height, he's the complete package. If he was literally, even if he was like 6 feet, I think he would have gone first overall, but obviously the concerns are valid. But as you can see with the Texans really building up that offensive line, they've got two solid tackles in Titus Howard, Laramie Tunzel. They traded for Shaq Mason, so they're building up that line. I think for a guy like a Bryce Young, so it makes sense that he would go second overall. Third overall, they got the Arizona Cardinals. This is a place where really I could see a trade happening. I could see a trade happening because the Cardinals are one of these teams that I feel like they're in a unique position because they've got a really good quarterback in Kyler Murray, but they're also in a position where um they're in a position where they still need to add a lot of talent, and maybe instead of taking one blue chip elite player, you can trade back and get a bunch of players and fill a lot of the holes that they have right now on this roster. But I'm not going to be doing trades, so I'm just going to pick for them here. I'm going to take Will Anderson, in my opinion, the best. I think he's the best overall player in this class. Great speed off the edge. He's really had great production for Alabama. I think if he declared last year, he arguably could have been the first overall pick. And yeah, I think this just makes sense for a team that obviously just lost JJ Watt, had lost Chandler Jones as well the past few years. So they're a team that really needs to kind of build up that edge and get young at that position. I think Will Anderson makes sense here. Fourth pick, you've got the Indianapolis Colts. It's a tough one. I think they got to go quarterback here. I mean, obviously they've tipped their hands that they do want a quarterback. If the question is which one do they take? Um, I'm gonna go Anthony Richardson. I think Will Levis, I think, is a bit more likely, but Anthony Richardson for me just perfectly fits their style. He's someone that really we saw with Shane Steichen in Philadelphia how he loved to use kind of Jalen Hurts as a rushing weapon, and kind of how strong he was and how hard he was to take down made them basically unstoppable on QB sneaks. Obviously Anthony Richardson, someone who probably is even more gifted than Jalen Hurts, but he's someone that's coming in very raw. Only started 1 year in college, which also signifies that he really has a lot of room to grow. And I think he looked better than I'd expect for someone who only started 1 year in college and was considered a raw prospect. He's got good pocket presence. He's got obviously great mobility, great overall traits. His accuracy kind of wanes a bit when he goes downfield, but I think that's something that can be fixed. I don't think he's ready to start day one, but he is someone that definitely, if the Colts hit on this pick, the entire AFC South is in trouble, including the Jaguars, who have Trevor Lawrence, one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So, I think this is a kind of a home run swing here, and it makes sense. Now you got the fifth pick, you got the Seattle Seahawks. So this is another place where really, sorry, this is another place where really you could see a quarterback, a quarterback going here. but I don't think it'll happen just because I think they do have Geno Smith and they locked him down, I believe, 2, 3 years now. And I think Seattle are kind of gearing up that they want to make a Super Bowl run sooner rather than later. And I think they're going to try and add as many blue chip prospects as possible, along with kind of the already the spending they've made in free agency so far to kind of build off the year that they've had this year, a great first rebuild year. So I think they're going to try. They're not going to go quarterback here based on what they did with Geno. So I'm going to have them taking Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. I know Jalen Carter is there, but I think there are a few concerns that you have with Jalen Carter. The fact that there are rumors that maybe he doesn't interview well. Obviously, he wasn't able to finish his pro day in Georgia because he did come in overweight. So I think that those are things that definitely teams are going to take into consideration, along with the fact that Seattle have already addressed their interior defensive line in their 3-4 with Draymond Jones, one of the more underrated defensive linemen in the NFL. So I think they really kind of need to go edge someone opposite to Uchenna Nwosu. And I think Tyree Wilson, someone who really another guy that just comes in with pure athleticism, 6'4", 6'5", something like that. He's got great power off the edge. He's someone that really, if he could be he's kind of in that, I'd say kind of in that Chandler Jones kind of mold. And I think if Seattle could get a pass rusher like that, that would be really dangerous for the entire NFL. Now I got the sixth pick. You got the Detroit Lions. Um, this is tough. This is tough because I think the Lions, one of their few weaknesses are defensive line. But again, do they go Jalen Carter this high? Obviously, there are some concerns with him, but I seriously think he is arguably the most gifted prospect in this entire draft. If you watch the tape, just the tape alone, he is a candidate for first overall. But obviously there have been things that happened since the draft that definitely probably hurt his draft stock, and we don't know if the Lions will be um how the Lions will feel about kind of that kind of taking a guy like Jalen Carter here. I think if he hits, it's him and Hutchinson on that line. That is dangerous. That is arguably a candidate for one of the better defenses in the NFL, especially with how they've already addressed the secondary and they've got a solid linebacking core as well. So, but are they willing to take that risk? I'm going to say yes because I don't see really among the top prospects. I think this would be Lions would be a serious candidate to maybe trade down. Maybe they could take a quarterback. Maybe they take Will Levis, but I don't really see that. I think the Lions would either trade down or take Jalen Carter because I don't see any other prospect right here, especially with how they've addressed secondary in the draft in free agency. I don't see why they would take another one here. So I'm gonna go Jalen Carter here to the Lions. Seventh, you've got now the um seventh, you've got the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm gonna have them taking Will Levis. I think um someone that I feel like makes sense for Josh McDaniels in the system. Someone who does have solid short accuracy, has been good under pressure, but obviously has been prone to making some boneheaded decisions at Kentucky. And I think he's someone that again, another guy that will probably need to sit a year, and that obviously will be the case with obviously the Raiders acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo. I could see the Lions, sorry, not the Lions, the Raiders going in a few different directions here as well. I could see them going offensive line with a guy like a Paris Johnson or a Peter Skoronski, but Levis, obviously, I think the last of the top four quarterbacks to go off the board. And I think again, you've got to compete, especially when you've got guys like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert in that division. You've got to kind of stack up and compete with them, and that's what Will Levis will do. Well, at least what he could be that guy. Now you got the eighth pick. You've got the Atlanta Falcons. Um, it's a tough pick. It's a tough pick. I'm gonna go a bit down here. A player that kind of could be seen as more of a project here, but I really like him. Nolan Smith out of Georgia, one of kind of the I would say anomalies of this draft. Again, another guy who's huge, 6'4", I believe, 6'5", and he's like 230 something, but he ran a 4.3 940. Got really kind of someone who has blazing speed for the guy that big, and he's a guy that really again was injured for a large part of the season. He's someone that really you could really characterize as a boom or bust prospect. But the Falcons, they low key did address a lot of their defensive line, and they've done a good job with that. But I still think they need another edge rusher, and if Nolan Smith is can kind of fulfill his potential, he's a guy that again could be an absolute an absolute steal for the Falcons at 8 because he's got, in my opinion, one of the highest ceilings in this entire draft out of any prospect. And I think, again, Falcons for the past, really for as long as I can remember, they've really needed kind of that edge presence since kind of the emergence of Vic Beasley. So they need that really that guy on the edge. I think Nolan Smith is someone, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite prospects in this draft. And people may see 8 as a bit of a high pick, but I think he won't go that far off that pick in the draft, in the actual draft. Now you got the ninth pick, you got the Chicago Bears. I'm gonna have them taking Peter Skoronski, obviously Justin Fields. They did they have tried to get weapons around him now with DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney coming back. They addressed defense a bit, not really the defensive line that much, but they addressed linebackers clearly, and I think they're going to address the line, defensive line a bit more. But they've got to protect him. That has been a serious issue. I know he has had trouble holding the ball a bit too long, but the offensive line, nonetheless, in Chicago was very poor, and they need to address it there. Peter Skoronski, a guy that can play tackle, guy can play guard, might play guard because again his arms are shorter than for someone that would be a tackle, but I think he has great potential to play there also. So I think overall, it doesn't really matter what he plays for the Bears because at the end of the day, they just need to protect Justin Fields, and Skoronski, in my opinion, is the best overall offensive lineman in this draft. Now you got the 10th pick. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, Tough to see what the Eagles will do because they did get back both of their cornerbacks, which I didn't expect them to do. I expected them to get rid of one of Darius Slay or James Bradbury, but they're keeping them both. Um they definitely did lose a few crucial pieces. I could see them taking an offensive line for future. Obviously you have Lane Johnson who isn't getting any younger, who you I could see him retire in the next few years. And I think obviously they did lose Isaac Samalo, so he could go. I think Skoronski would have been a very Eagles like pick here, but it is it is tough. I think that the Eagles again, they're a team that they did lose both their safeties, so I think I could see them going maybe Brian Branch, but I don't see the Eagles as a team that really value safeties or linebackers as high as most other teams. I think they want to kind of continue to build the trenches or build their skill positions. Mm, it's a tough pick. Mm, no, I'm gonna go Paris Johnson. I know this does seem like a pick that wouldn't really make sense, but I don't see the Eagles going really in a different direction because they the Eagles are a team that really they kind of they're not a team that's gonna kind of try and reach for a prospect just because they're really a team that lost that piece and want to fill a position. They want to be a team that kind of builds and continues to build at the most important positions, even if they aren't going to use it right now. And that's what we saw with Jalen Hurts when they took him, even when they had Carson Wentz and didn't look like they had a problem. So I think it'll be the same thing there with Paris Johnson, someone that will sit a year, maybe 2 years even on in front of Lane Johnson. Eventually he's gonna take over the position. We saw that again with Cam Jurgens for maybe Samalo, maybe for Jason Kelsey. So I think I could see the Eagles really kind of continue to build that line. But I think again they're another team that really could be a trade candidate here. Try and trade down and get even more picks and kind of fill those fill linebacker and safety that they lost in the later rounds. And now you got the 11th pick, the Tennessee Titans. Uh, I'm gonna go Broderick Jones from Georgia. I think again Broderick Jones, a guy who didn't allow any sacks. Obviously, Titans have don't really have the greatest tackles, and they are a team that also loves to pound the ball, run downhill. Something that I think Broderick Jones would really suit. Isn't again another guy that isn't exactly really polished, but overall what he's been doing has been working so far. And if he can kind of continue to develop. He is again another one of those guys with huge ceilings. And already I think he's also someone with a decent floor. I think he's going to be an immediate upgrade to the room that the Titans have already. The 12th pick, you've got the Houston Texans. I think a lot of the best I think they would have liked to take one of these tackles off the board, but I think since they don't, they're probably going to go receiver. Um, yeah, I think they'd go probably go Jackson Smith and Jigba because I think he's the best prospect in this the best receiver prospect in this draft class. Again, he is a pure slot, but I think Texans obviously need to replace Brandon Cooks, who was that receiver one. Can Jackson Smith and Jigba be that? Maybe, maybe not, but they've also got a few guys to complement there with guys like Nico Collins, John Mechie, Robert Woods. Not great pieces, but pieces I think can complement him and kind of make sure Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be someone who's like triple teams immediately. And I think um, he's the guy that really at least provides that piece that could be a receiver one for a guy like Bryce Young there. 13th pick, you got the New York Jets. Yeah, another team I really could see trading down here. Um, I think a lot of the prospects they would have wanted to take are now off the board. Um, I think they would take at this point if they were not to trade down. I'm gonna go with a bit of a curveball here. I'm gonna go no, I'm gonna go Jordan Addison. I think 13 is a bit of a reach for him, but again, you just saw the Jets did trade Elijah Moore, and they do need to fill that receiver position. I think there's a good chance they get Odell Beckham Jr., but if they don't, they need someone that can kind of be that route running technician that they're losing in Elijah Moore. And I think Jordan Addison, at least right now, with how the Jets roster stacks up, they do need someone that can fill that receiver position. Again, this is not an ideal pick for the Jets because, again, I think they would have taken any of these three guys ahead of Addison. I think they would have taken Jackson Smith and Jigba instead of Addison. So I think at this point they would have tried to trade down with a team that maybe needs secondary help. But I think again, no trades in this mock, so we're just gonna keep it as is. And I think the Jets would take Addison if they were left with this board. 14th pick, you got the New England Patriots. They addressed receiver a bit. I don't think they would take a receiver now at this point. I think they're also in um for DeAndre Hopkins. I think they would be a team that also could have taken a tackle, but again, all of them are off the board. Um I'm gonna have him take Miles Murphy out of Clemson, a guy who has had good production, solid production at Clemson. Only 21 years old, so he's again a guy who's got a lot of room to grow. And obviously, again, Belichick, another one of those guys who really values the trenches. And I could see them going secondary here, but I think we saw that he didn't really address cornerback last year in the draft, and now that we saw the emergence of a guy like Jack Jones, I think he's again going to kind of try and address that a bit later and try and go edge before that. So I'm gonna go Miles Murphy at 14 for the Patriots. 15, you got the Green Bay Packers. Um, Packers at 15. I'm gonna go Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. Again, a guy that's kind of a bit more of a, I'd say a guy that's a bit more of a projection, sorry, for Green Bay. I know they do have guys like Rashawn Gary coming back from injury and also Preston Smith, but I don't think he'll be there for much longer. Van Ness is a guy that I think is versatile and can start off as kind of that 3-4 defensive lineman and then move to also an outside linebacker when as a rotational piece. And again, he's got again huge potential. Guy that didn't really play actually that much for Iowa, but his strength is kind of off the charts. And I think he's going to be someone that again is going to kind of maybe kind of in that obviously not in that Rashawn Gary mold in the sense that obviously there are different types of players, but another guy that Green Bay are drafting that kind of may start off slow, but I think could really hit the ground running eventually. And yeah, I think it makes sense for Green Bay who are kind of trying to build kind of a more complete team in this post Aaron Rodgers era. 16th pick, you got the Washington Commanders. Yeah, I think you gotta go corner. Christian Gonzalez, in my opinion, is a top 10 prospect in this draft, and I think he only really hasn't gone earlier just because teams with other needs. I think a lot of the teams either have good secondaries already or don't value the secondary as high. So I think the Commanders getting him at 16, they would be absolutely thrilled with this pick. Um, Yeah, I think the team that already really has a good front four, good front seven in my opinion, but they need kind of that opposite piece to a guy like a Benjamin St. Just. So is it Ben it I forgot his first name, but St. Just. So they need an opposite piece of that. Christian Gonzalez again, guy that really has that he really kind of projects as another the next kind of fast kind of long corner that really is in that mold of a Sauce Gardner or Patrick Surtain who could really be step in be immediately one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I don't think I'm not trying to set that expectation for Gonzalez, but I think he will step in and be the Commanders cornerback one from day one. So I think a great value pick here for the Commanders. 17, you got the Steelers. Um Tough one here, tough one. I think I could see them going a guy like a Darnell Wright here or Anson Harrison. They're another team that also they did lose. They definitely did lose some secondary pieces, so that is an issue. Mm, I'm going to go here. I'm gonna go with um yeah, I'm gonna go with Darnell Wright. I'm gonna go with Darnell Wright. The Steelers, they have tried to build up that line a bit. They added Isaac Samalo, they added James Daniels last year. So I think they've got the interior looks pretty good now for the Steelers, but they do need to build up that tackle position. It hasn't been that great in recent years. And again, they're a team that really kind of they've wanted to kind of run the ball a lot with Najee Harris, but he's had trouble kind of with that line that has been really iffy. And I think Darnell Wright is going to be someone that's going to kind of allow the Steelers to kind of get back to their roots and be able to run the ball downhill a bit more. A guy that isn't like kind of doesn't have the same size as a guy like Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson, but he's someone I think will get the job done well. And I think he is one of the more underrated tackles in this draft class. 18th, and now we're back to the Lions. Again, it's a good time to be the linesman because they just don't have that many. They don't have that many needs. So, um, it's tough here. It's a tough pick. Um, I'm gonna go with. I think they could. I think again, the Lions could afford a luxury pick at this point because line is good, quarterback is good, running backs are good, defensive line now with Carter is good, linebackers, secondary, they're really kind of good almost on all fronts. I think they're a team that really could be a sleeper Super Bowl contender this year. But so why not just add another luxury piece? I think the receiving core isn't bad. I think they've got solid pieces like obviously they got Monroe St. Brown, Jameson Williams, who I think will have a better year too, but they could use another outside weapon. So I'm gonna go with Quinton Johnson here. Quinton Johnston, sorry. A guy that really he is a big guy. But his calling card isn't really that he is someone that's an elite jump ball receiver. He's more of a guy that a really good route runner, a guy that's just he didn't run that fast before. He was only like a 4.46, but he is fast in space, especially for someone that big. And I think he's going to be someone that if he does again realize his potential here, that Lions offense is literally unstoppable. You've got three good weapons, then you've got one of the best offensive lines in the league. You've got a good running game as well. It's just such a complete team already, and I think Quentin Johnson just makes it that much more dangerous. 19th pick now, you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, they're a team that I feel like now are kind of in rebuild mode, but at the same time, Bijan Robinson, in my opinion, one of the best overall prospects in this entire draft class. Um, I'm gonna go with him just because, again, a lot of reports have been saying that some people even think he's the best prospect in this entire draft class, and I think the undervaluing of running backs, I think, has gone a bit too far at this point. And I think obviously the Bucks have did cut Leonard Fournette. I do like Rashad White, but I don't see him as a running back one. And if Bijan goes to that team, I think um he does add probably another win or two just because he is probably the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. Um, he is incredibly elusive, got solid speed, not really like blazing fast, but he's got good speed. Um, and I think he is kind of another piece to a Bucks kind of skill positions that already has guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, even Russell Gage, I would say. Um, Again, still rebuilding. They need to kind of add to that offensive line, but I think again, when you've got again, it's another idea of kind of I know they could address other positions, but at the same time, Bijan Robinson at 19, in my opinion, is great value for a guy that I think could go as high as 10, maybe even to Philadelphia. I think he is that good of a prospect. And I think Tampa Bay are gonna definitely see him as one for maybe in the next few years when they're really kind of ready to contend post Brady era. So Bijan to the Bucks at 19. At 20, you've got the Seattle Seahawks. I think this a pick here that really would make sense to me. I have to go down, sorry. Is Oh, there we go. Osiris Torrens from Florida. I can't believe he's down all the way down at 49 because the Seahawks are a team that really has needed an interior offensive line help for a long time, really kind of even in that Russell Wilson era. And it's been something that really has killed a lot of their quarterbacks while they haven't gotten injured. It's just been really it just is it really has been kind of a has been an issue for Seattle for a while, and it also has hurt them kind of running the ball. That have it has been difficult to run. Although Kenneth Walker has been one of the better running backs in the league, it is still has been a problem for them. And I think adding a guy like Osiris Torrens again, it keeps a guy like Geno Smith up on his feet a little bit more. Obviously they do already have solid tackles, but now adding another young piece of that offensive line will really just make it so much better, especially with a guy like Torrens, who I think again really balance pass and run. I think it could take Kenneth Walker to a whole new level, and I think they still do need a little bit more help there, but I think it just is a pick that um makes sense for Seattle there. 21 now, you've got the Los Angeles Chargers. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think the board stacks up great for them at this point. I think they would have wanted to go maybe in um a few different directions here, but I think with how it's looking right now, I would take um here I would take maybe um I would here I think I would go I'm gonna go Dalton King no sorry Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. I think the Chargers are a team. They do have Donald Parham who's decent, but I think they do need kind of that again another it's not even the tight end is like a glaring need, but they do need another weapon in that offense. Clearly Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are enough. I could see them going with a guy like Jalen Hyatt, but I think top 30 is a bit of a reach for someone who kind of has a very limited route tree and kind of just tendency just like to rely on his speed. So I think you would need a bit more refinement to go 21 to the Chargers. Maybe they trade down here, but I think overall, I think in general, if they want to contend with the best of the best in the AFC, they need just another weapon. I think Michael Meyer, in my opinion, tight end one, very close with Kincaid, but I think he is my tight end one. So I think he just adds just kind of another security blanket for Justin Herbert, someone who could kind of replace what Eckler really was if the Chargers do decide to trade him or maybe even release him. So Mayer at 21 to the Chargers. 22, you got the Baltimore Ravens. Um Again, another team that really would like to go receiver here, but I think they would go. Oh, I didn't know Zay Flowers was. Well, they go Zay Flowers. I think they'd go Zay Flowers. I would have. Yeah, I would go Zay Flowers for the Baltimore Ravens here. Yeah, I think he's someone who could definitely play the slot kind of interior while guys like they probably would want to add another piece to that room because it's probably just Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. But I think Zay Flowers, a guy definitely that could be a serious threat in that receiving room. Someone could play slot, someone could play outside, despite that he's only 5'9", 5'10". He's got he's got great vertical speed. He would add a huge an element really that would be completely different to what Lamar Jackson is used to if he does decide to stay. I don't think a trade will really materialize. And I think I think this will be probably one of the even though it's not a great offense, I think adding Zay Flowers would make it one of the better offenses that Lamar Jackson has played in. And it would kind of really be his best chance to really actually showcase how he is as a passer. So I think this would be I picked that really makes sense at 22 for the Ravens. 23, you got the Minnesota Vikings. I'm gonna go with um Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State, another one of those long and tall cornerbacks. And I think obviously the Vikings have just kind of don't really have any corners, and they could address that later, but I think this is it's an area where really they need to improve there. So I think Porter makes sense there for the Vikings at 23. 24 now. You've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um I think they'd go secondary too. I think they go Devon Witherspoon, a guy that isn't as kind of a different mold, only like 6 feet, maybe 5'11". I don't remember, but he's someone that definitely would be a good piece opposite to a guy like Tyson Campbell, who had a really good year. So he would definitely, the Jaguars have probably all the offensive pieces they need. They could maybe address offensive line a bit, but I think overall they're good there. But in terms of defense, they definitely need help there, especially in that secondary. And I think Devon Witherspoon makes makes that secondary a lot more dangerous. 25 now, you got the New York Giants. I would go with Dalton Kincaid. I don't think there are any other. Yeah. I would go with Dalton Kincaid. I think he is another guy who I would consider a top 15, top 20 prospect. I think it's a good value for the Giants here. I know they got Daniel Bellinger, but they've also added some receivers in. Um, they have added some. Oh, they did add Darren Waller. They did add Darren Waller, but I could see Darren Waller as someone who is more of a who can be more of kind of a slot receiver. I could see him more as that, and Kincaid, who could be someone who's more of an actual true tight end. I think the Giants really right now with their offense, they kind of want to just kind of go BPA. So I would have them going 25 to the Giants. 26, you got the Cowboys now. Um hmm, sorry, 26, you got the Cowboys now. Um I think this is a pick where really, again, the Cowboys have addressed some of their biggest needs with the receiver and cornerback via trade. So I think um, they can probably go BPA here. I would go with Kalijah Cansey from Pitt. A bit undersized for defensive lineman, but he's got overall in terms of at least speed and he ran, I believe, either the fastest or the second fastest 40 for a defensive lineman and had good production at Pitt. And the Cowboys could use kind of another body inside. They've got obviously good edge pieces. Obviously, they got arguably the best edge rusher in the league with Micah Parsons there. So Kalijah Kancey, someone who really kind of is a good disruptive piece on the defensive line, a good who projects well as a pass rusher. 27, you got the Buffalo Bills. Um, I think they're another team that really needs help on the interior of the line. I'm gonna go. Trying to find. I would go Steve Avila from TCU, someone again ranked a lot lower, but I think overall the Bills are a team that definitely does need help on the line. It would just be a pick that overall that I think would be one of the reasons why Buffalo have gotten knocked out the past few years, that they haven't been able, at least why they got knocked out this year, is that they weren't able to win the trenches. Avila is someone I think that definitely would keep Josh Allen a lot more upright and make Buffalo a more balanced team, a team that's like I can at least keep Josh Allen upright a bit more and allow him to do what he does. And yeah, I think Avila would make sense for the Bills at 27. Also gives them another rushing element. 28 now, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, I'm gonna go Anton Harrison here. I don't think the Bengals have did add a tackle. I know they are trying to shop Jonah Williams. So I'm gonna go I'm gonna go Anton Harrison here. Another offensive lineman really that another tackle I think is really good. I think this is an overall really good tackle class. Um and I think they could go running back as well here, but I think given the past years that Joe Burrow has had to endure obviously a lot of pressure and a lot of issue obviously as the offensive line has really um been very poor in the past few years. I think Cincinnati know that they have the weapons to. They've already shown up the weapons that he needs to kind of make a to win the Super Bowl, but they need to kind of fix truly fix that offensive line. I think that's what I think Anton Harrison would definitely help with that. 29 now you got the New Orleans Saints. I saw some calls here for Hendon Hooker. Think I don't think that would be the pick. I think they would go. I think here, um, mm, 29. I think they would go, Brian Brees, uh, someone that I think has fallen down draft boards for someone that kind of was considered before kind of the season ended, was considered kind of someone who could be a top 10, top 15 pick. He's kind of fallen down draft boards a bit, but I think the Saints are a team that do need another presence for that in the defensive line room. So I think he is someone that could definitely someone that I think projects well. He was originally the number one recruit for college out of high school, and I think he's someone that the Saints do have a lot of needs, but I think he is someone that could kind of help with that that interior help. 30th pick, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles. I think here they'd go Brian Branch. He's someone I think he is definitely a first round pick in my opinion, and he is again. If he fell all the way here, I think it would be kind of I think it would be smart to take him here because given the fact that um, the Eagles did lose both their safeties. They did lose Marcus. They did lose Epps. They did lose CJ Gardner Johnson. So if you want to kind of at least kind of put some tape on it, kind of make sure that it is still it's not at least a liability as a unit. I think Brian Branch would be a smart pick here. Again, another position where I could see Philadelphia trading, but that makes sense there. And finally, 31st, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, Kansas City, I think they would go. I think they're gonna draft. I think they might get one of the final remaining receivers, and they have said that they do believe in Kadarius Toney as receiver one. I don't think they would take Josh Downs here or Jalen Hyatt, given that they have taken receivers. They did take receiver, and they did address receiver a lot in the last free agency in the draft. So I think they won't go there. I think they're gonna take Will McDonald out of Ohio State. Again, a lot of these edge rushers in this draft class are guys that really project as top as guys who could really, if they fulfill their potential, could be top really top players in the NFL. And I think the Chiefs obviously they do have George Karlaftis, but they got rid of Frank Clark, and really that the strategy of kind of building the offensive line, kind of trying to make the defense as good as possible while having the best quarterback in the league, has said that has really worked for them at this point. So I think um it would be a pick that makes sense. But that is it for the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. I did have a few picks that kind of I would have changed up if I had known that they were on the board. So sorry about that. But overall, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you guys and see you in the next one.